If I'm honest, I have not really played Pyro too much since I started playing the game nearly 6 years ago. I have, however, played against plenty of them, as Heavy, Engineer, Spy, Demo Man, Soldier, the list goes on. And if there is one thing I've learned in that time, it's that they are very, very annoying. They are the absolute most single-handedly pointless class in the current game, if you were to ask me. The Pyro also, without a doubt, probably has the most fucking crit gimmick weapons out there. It's almost like Valve knew that the Pyro was just not fucking fun to play, insanely simple to play, and very irritating to play against. So they decided to take all of that and multiply it by 1,000,000. Pyro, in the time that I have dedicated to him to have a fair opinion on him prior to writing the script, he was no fun. I hated it. All I did was air blast people into corners so they couldn't fight back. I just air blasted rockets away, basically shutting soldiers down, and I set people on fire from miles away. It's not fun. When you die as Pyro, it is probably because someone else was shooting at you while you were killing a guy. With all that said, I can safely say that I hate Pyro, and have zero respect for anyone who claims to main Pyro. Because you don't main Pyro, you're just like everyone else. You're just good at him because he's Pyro. But enough of all that, let me see if I can try to explain why I feel such a strong, harsh point about our muted friend. My name's Cody, and I'm here to ask one question that I've had on my mind for quite some time. How bad could it be? Pyro does have a lot of crit gimmick weapons though. Here's the chart that I made. He has 4 total primary weapons, not counting all the reskins, so I'm only counting unique primaries in terms of stats. 3 of these deal crits, whether direct or indirect. Indirect basically means that they aid in getting crits, but they don't necessarily have crit gimmicks on them at base. The first one is the Backburner, the second one is the Flog, and the third one is the Degreaser, which requires other input to achieve the crits, i.e. the Reserve Shooter, Flare Gun, etc. Speaking of secondaries, he has 7 total ones. 5 of these deal crits: the Flare Gun, Scorch Shot, Detonator, Reserve Shooter, and Man Melter. He has 8 total melee weapons, and 2 of these deal some form of crits: Extinguisher and the Neon Annihilator. He has 10 total crit weapons in his entire arsenal. This means that over half of all of his weapons are capable of providing some sort of crit bonus to the user in some form or fashion, whether indirect, i.e. the Degreaser, or direct, i.e. the Flare Gun. It also does include all forms of crits, mini crits, and regular crits. Now, I must be fair, I love crits. Personally, I see random crits as a necessary evil in this game, and guaranteed crits should be a thing to be worked for, as with the case of the Frontier Justice or the Kritzkrieg. But neither of these apply to the Pyro, and in fact drive me to near insanity when I do so much as think about it. In nearly all of these cases, there is virtually no skill involved and is very easy to pull off. Sure, aim is a key component with the flare guns and maybe the Reserve Shooter, but leading projectiles is relatively easy with the Flare Gun and Detonator and Scorch Shot, and the Reserve Shooter is a fucking shotgun. The spread on shotguns not only gives it a pretty good damage potential anyway, but also makes it super easy to pull off the mini crits with the Air Blast. Oh, and don't even get me started on the Air Blast. The Air Blast is without a doubt my biggest fucking pet peeve in this game, and I should not have to explain why. Getting Air Blasted is not fun. There's virtually no cooldown on the Air Blast, and most of the time you barely have enough time to get your footing on the ground before you are air blasted again. This is not considering that about 85% of the time you're put right into a fucking corner with no way to get back to the ground without a fucking barbed axe in your face, or around a buckshot in your crotch. This is annoying, it's not fun to fight, and disorienting. You will get confused and you will be near useless. Gunmetal added a better air control when in the air via Air Blast, but I have never felt the gravity of this. I still feel like I have no control of where I'm at when in the air. This is insanely frustrating, and an abysmal mechanic. It's hard to deal with, it's hard to counter, and it leaves you open to all attacks from all sources from no fault of your own. I think most people agree that the Air Blast has good qualities. It's able to put out those on fire and able to dry out Girardi and Mad Milk, but that does not change how absolutely ridiculous this is, especially considering that countering it is a pain in the ass. See, if you ask most Pyro mains, the simplest solution to countering the Pyro is to just not get close to the Pyro, but let's figure out exactly how many classes can accomplish this feat and still neutralize the threat. Heavy, engineer if he relies on the sentry, sniper, and maybe medic if he's conscious about how to play medic. There are several reasons why I am only considering these classes. All explosive classes, that's right, both of them, shoot projectiles, and you want to know what Pyro air blasts back? Projectiles. This includes Girardi, Mad Milk, and Huntsman arrows. Scout, Spy, and other Pyros can't get too close because Pyros generally spam the fire around them periodically, lighting anyone who gets relatively close ablaze. This mostly applies to Spies. Scouts have to rely on their scatterguns, most of which fire in a large spread and will deal chump damage if you are not right in the opposition's face. And other Pyros don't deal afterburn damage to other Pyros, so they also have to rely on either dealing less damage to the other Pyro or revert back to the shotgun, which falls in the same boat as the scatterguns, although scatterguns do seem to deal more damage than shotguns if we're being fair. Getting close to Pyro is usually the only way to defeat him, which can be hard if they know what they're doing. The most popular, and I'd argue only true Pyro strategy, is like shitting your pants. It's easy, and you don't need to have any clue what you're doing to do it well. It is very commonly referred to as WM1 in the TF2 community, and nearly everyone picks it up immediately after selecting the class and testing his abilities. Sure, some people air blast every now and again, but I've already discussed why that's not so much a strategy, but more like a handicap on the enemy. The Pyro has virtually no other strategies that I've been able to find, and his actual reasons for existing are not all that great, and no, I'm not considering Pyro. Spy checking. Pyro's existence, most people might argue. This is absolutely not a key reason to main or even keep Pyro around if you ask me. Listen, I get it, this has been the Pyro's sole reason for existence since the very early days of TF2, but it's obsolete now. I get that you might be sitting in your chair or standing at a bus stop and complaining to your screen that yes, it's very important. Except, what about all the other classes that can do it? Just as well, I might argue. Liquids. 2 classes have them. Scout has Mad Milk and the Sniper has Girardi. These can reveal a spy if they're doused with them, coating them with a bright yellow or giving them a sort of milk droplet particle. However, these do have to recharge every now and again. But that's not all. What about the amount of bleed weapons? The Southern Hospitality, the Boston Basher, granted you can't just spam it, the Flying Guillotine, etc, etc, etc. But who says you have to reveal them to spy check? Just kill them! I mean, look, everyone shoots at all team members and turns around all the time anyway, so why do we need Pyros to do it? Everyone is constantly checking for them. I shouldn't even have to mention at this point that Spy has 2 weapons that make it incredibly easy for him to escape anyway. The Spycicle, which makes him briefly invulnerable to fire, and the Dead Ringer, which will feign his death and make him run away from this muted menace. There is no reason or argument behind needing Pyro for spy checking anymore, since spies aren't even all that convincing anyway. Give Spy a way to make him reasonably convincing, and I'll give you the right to say we need Pyro for spy checking. Hitboxes are very crucial for any decent first-person shooter. These determine what damages you. Hit scan bullets, projectiles, particles, and explosive damage are the 4 main types of damage you'll face in TF2, and Pyro falls under particles via his flamethrower. Now, there's a huge problem with this. His hitbox is not consistent. It reaches farther than it should, or shorter than it should, depending on your internet connection. This has been a hugely debated topic / bug amongst Pyro mains and the TF2 community for a while, so I can't really add more to the conversation that literally everyone else hasn't already added, so I won't. Check out From Pyro with Love to learn more on the topic. All of these complaints come from a place of love, I swear. The Pyro has been around as long as my favorite game has been, and I don't want to see him gone. I want to see him just be reasonable, reliable, consistent even. I want Pyro to be a class that's worth having around beyond just to be an annoyance or to meme on people with the air blast. If I had to make a few suggestions, I don't know, maybe make it so he can't air blast within so many feet of a wall, just so that you can't spam people into a wall so that way they can't move in the air. I don't know. Maybe make his flamethrower hit scan. I mean, a lot of people have discussed this over the years, but I don't think anyone's ever given it true consideration. Point is, I don't really know what I want. I don't know what we could do to fix the Pyro. I'm not a game designer, I'm not a game developer, but I know that right now, I don't like him, and I know a lot of people that I'm friends with don't like him. I want to love him. I'm sure we all want to see him in the same sort of state he was 10 years ago. Used because he's loved and needed, not because he's just got the widest array of crit weapons. I'm gonna have to sign off now, but I just wanted to close with Valve, fix the Pyro. I miss the Pyro in the fashion that he used to be maybe 4 or 5 years ago, but now I just can't stand him, and I honestly don't want him around anymore if he's gonna continue to just be annoying. Take care, everybody, and I hope I've opened some eyes.